Um,
Hi.
Hi, this is Mama Gina, and I am joined today by the lovely and very, very talented creatrix, Callie Eckman. And she is, listen, she does everything, and it just blows my mind. We first met through music and dance.
Yep.
I'm a musician, she's a dancer,
Yep.
and a lovely one. And we met through that, but we also share a love of fiber arts,
Yes.
fabric art,
Yes.
and she's a mixed media artist. In fact, I spent time with you
Yes.
a few years ago now, and
19.
your
Yep.
your your place is
Yeah.
totally like is I mean, I could live there forever and just create stuff on all the stuff that I find around your place. So tell people who you are and what you're currently involved in. I want to hear about what's going on with you these days.
Well, my business is called Eir'Lokian, Eldrid Treasures, ELET for short.
Cool.
Uh, and basically, it was something that I've always been into, grew up doing at my grandmother, great grandmother's knee. Um, and it's a variety of different things, anything from fiber art, jewelry making, wood burning. Uh, right now, my focus is more into the Renaissance Viking Age type of thing. As you can see, I'm in my Viking tunic right now.
I love it. I love
Oh,
it.
yeah. But basically, it's just you name it, I can create it. One thing that has inspired me is when you started making your tie cloaks. I was like, huh, I want to see how this is done because that's very interesting. And so I started getting ties, taking them apart, making them myself, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. And then I started making dresses. I started
Yes.
making like little summer dresses and vests and just all sorts of stuff. And people started eating it up. They're like,
Yeah.
oh my God, this is unique. This is interesting. Can you make other things? I'm like, yeah, I can do
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was funny when I dreamed that tie cloak, the first one. I dreamed it, and you talk about that creative process. I
Yep.
woke up and I thought I I I have to go buy some ties.
Yep. Yep.
I think that first tie cloak was pretty expensive because I didn't find the best resources,
Yeah.
but I absolutely fell in love with the process, and I literally dreamed all of it in one dream. I was like, oh, I see how to take them apart, and I see how to put them together, and I see
Hmm.
what it was crazy. And there was some fine tuning in the later cloaks, but the whole thing came in a dream. It was just
Yeah.
crazy. And i
Yeah.
love i love seeing people wear them, and I love seeing what people are creating as a result of that little
Yep.
dream.
Yep.
It's awesome.
Oh
They're just
yeah.
fun to play with.
They
so
are. They really are.
so right before we got on to talk on this Zoom thing, you sent me a message that said, I want to apologize in advance for the mess in my apartment. And I'm laughing because I'm like, this is the creative flow that I want to talk about. Talk to me about what's happening behind you.
Oh boy. Well, right behind me, this little pink thing right here
Yeah.
is it is a customer's order, uh, commonly known as Skittles, because anytime me and the customer talk a lot and everything, and the person that's for is mostly in the room, so our code name for it is Skittles. It is a organza fairy skirt that is going on a tulle ballerina tutu.
Oh, oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
yeah. Um, and what it is, this person has donated a lot of items to my business,
Uh-huh.
And so, as like a barter trade type of situation, I have said, well, if you can come up with like ideas or things that you want made, just get the items that you want made together, give them to me, tell me what you want, I'll make it and get it to you.
Right.
So this is fairy skirt out of several different yards of different color organza, rainbow
Oh,
colors. They are cut in a triangle pattern, and they are being attached to a double layer pink tulle
wow.
ballerina skirt. Yep, that's already
This
elasticized and everything. So yeah, half of my work is already done.
Yeah, this is going to be so much fun. I'm looking
Oh
forward to seeing
yeah,
pictures of that when it's being modeled by whoever is going to
oh
wear
yeah,
that. That's
yeah,
totally awesome.
yep.
So, I know that you take a lot of customer orders.
Yes, I
Um,
do.
as a creative who has a hard time doing things to spec for other people, I simply work on whatever comes through. I work on spec from whatever inspiration comes through. The voices in my head,
Exactly,
they're the ones that are talking to me saying you need to do this thing. And
exactly.
they're not always very clear about it. Um,
Hmm.
but you get like you get information from your
Yeah.
clients about what to create. Um, do you feel that that limits you, or do you feel like it frees you up to really go for it?
It depends on what it is.
Okay.
If a client is very specific on detail and how they want it to look, or they send me a picture says, I want it to look exactly like this, then yeah, I'm very, very limited. But if they're like, well, I'm wanting it to look similar to this, but with a little bit of this, a little bit of this, a little bit of this, then that sort of frees me up with artistic creativity, and then I can bounce ideas off of them during the process of creating. Because part of what I do when I'm creating their item is I send them pictures of, hey, I got this cut. It's going to lay like this. It's going to flow like this. What is your feedback?
Nice.
And if, especially like with wood burning, because wood burning is similar to tattoos. Um,
Once it's burned, it's burned.
Once
There's no
it's
going
burned,
back.
it's burned. Yeah, once it's burned, it's burned. There's no going back. And basically, I have to start all over again. So,
Right.
yeah, when it comes to the creative process, it is easier if I have a guide to go by when it comes to a lot of these things. But if I have a general, like, especially with the clothing, if I have a general time period, like, okay, you want Viking, you want Renaissance, you want medieval, you want Elizabethan, you want fantasy of like Lord of the Rings, you
Right.
want, you want something Kelpie inspired or Selkie or fairy or mermaid, you know,
Right.
gives me something to, okay, so you want this way. Or, hey, you want these details, but not these details.
I really
So,
it's a co-creation.
exactly. And it just depends on what they want. Now, if it's something that I'm just creating just to throw in the shop, then it's like, okay, I feel like making this. I feel like making teddy bears and rainbows. Okay, let's do it. Furry thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what are some of the favorite pieces that you've created that just came out of your own imagination?
My pocket dragons.
Oh.
And
Oh,
I have
oh. Of course you do.
my
Oh
pocket
my
dragons.
goodness. Are they polymer?
Yes, they
Polymer
are
clay?
polymer air dry clay.
Wow.
Yes,
That is awesome. Now, do you
yeah.
paint them or is it all just different colors mixed?
Well, it depends. A lot of times I will just paint them as they get done drying, um, or I mix the paint in with the clay, which is very fun. It's very squishy,
Yeah.
and I get to make a mess, so I feel like a kid. Uh,
Right.
or or like right now, a lot of people are into video games. Like right now, I have another commission for a Laura Croft necklace,
Oh,
and she's wanting it made out of clay instead of me getting like the jade and forming it out of the stone, which
right.
I'm like, oh, thank you, because I don't have stone cutting tools anymore. So it's like, thank you.
Right.
Um, but she's wanting the necklace made out of clay, and it's a really simple necklace. It's maybe the size of a quarter, and it's not really going to take me that long to make once I get done. I just
Yeah.
got I just got to match the color, and I was thinking maybe making it kind of glow in the dark, bioluminescent.
Oh, wouldn't that be totally cool? I
It
love
would
it.
be
I
one of a
love it.
kind.
So, where do you think, aside from customer orders, where do you think that your ideas come from?
I think it comes from my childlike imagination. I even to this day, I still retain that childlike wonderment. You know, like I still, a lot of people, when we grow up, we let go of our childhood imagination, our
Right.
childlike, wonderment with the world. Me, not so much.
Yeah,
I
I know.
still, I still go out into the woods and I see fairies and dragons, and you know, think I've gone to fantasy land.
I definitely see that glee in you.
Yeah,
When we're together, I can see that kind of spark that you have that has been beat out of a lot of people,
yep,
frankly, as they grow, as we grow. So
yep.
that's an awesome inspiration right there, to
Oh
be
yeah.
able to still see that. That oh, I love it. I love it so much.
Oh,
Oh, so you literally live in your creative space.
I do.
I mean, your apartment is your studio, is your everything.
Yeah,
And from somebody who lives in this room right here for 90% of my time, during this downtime that we've been all having, this
yep,
is my space. There's a house, but I don't live in the house. I use the common areas, and then I come back in this space, and here's where my studio is and everything else. It's it makes me almost on creatively all the time. And
yep.
sometimes that is wonderful, and sometimes it is, I don't want to
Overwhelming.
I don't want to do this today, and I can't even get out
Yep.
of it, because this is my whole universe right now in this time of COVID. It's really bizarre to me that I can't, I can step into the trees in the backyard, which thankfully, we have some lovely trees that I can do the grounding thing and everything, and that's where I do my best writing.
Yep.
But what does it feel like for you to live and work in the same space, and your creativity is like smack up against your reality, for better, for lack of a better term?
Well, thankfully, the way I have my apartment set up, I finally finished getting the nerd room set up, because
Oh,
if you remember when you were here, that was still a work in progress.
right, right, right.
Yeah, so I finally got that room set up. So when the crafting area gets to be too much, I can escape in there and get on the computer games and escape into that reality for a minute. uh,
Right.
there's a bunch of games that I'll get on. Most of it is like Warcraft, um, Creativerse, and just a bunch of like D&D inspired type of games. Um, And then if that gets to be too much, I do what a lot of people have been doing during this pandemic, which is Netflix and chill to my heart's content.
There you go. There you go.
But even that gets tedious. And living in an apartment complex like I do, we do have meditation areas and everything, little places where, we can go out. There's flowers, there's places you can sit and just relax and be in your zen.
Wow, that is spectacular.
Yep.
That's a bonus
Oh,
for
yeah, it
sure.
is. And then also there's a couple of public parks that are not that far away. Uh, During this pandemic, my state, they've not, at first, they did close down everything for like the first, 90 days. They closed absolutely everything down. But after that, people started walking more. Excuse me, people started going out to the natural parks and
Right,
everything in small groups, of course, wearing their mask and everything else,
right.
which I did start doing that and everything. Here recently, I started going back to the gym because we have a saltwater pool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that has been very cathartic as far as like healing the body and
Right.
putting me back into that right mental state. The other thing that's helped is music,
Oh, yeah.
mostly your music and
Thank you.
a bunch of other people's.
Right.
Like a lot of the a lot of other artists like Wardruna, High Lung,
Oh,
uh,
yeah.
oh yes, the Who,
Uh-huh.
A2, yeah,
Yes.
their music. So a lot of that type of music, plus a lot of the music that I grew up with, like Def Leppard, Rod Stewart,
Hmm.
Stevie Nicks,
I've
those
got to
type of
say,
artists.
I really never listened to that much candy rock, but Def Leppard was my guilty pleasure. It always was. I can't tell you why I loved it so much because it's the most inane stuff on the planet, but I will never turn the radio off when they come on.
Oh yeah. Well, my guilty pleasure with them is they were my first concert.
Ah, that explains a lot. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah,
That's
they were
great.
my first concert, and it's like, okay, yep,
You know, it's funny. I hear a lot of people talk about music being part of their creative process, whether it is to decompress and empty their minds or whether it's to play in the background while they're doing something. And I have always been the exact opposite. I need absolute silence
yeah,
in order to create. Maybe because I'm creating music and that is my medium, I'm not
yeah,
sure. But I've also found I spent about a good 7, 8 years every day working with polymer clay. And
mm-hmm.
while I was in that process, I still needed complete silence. I needed my brain to do other things but not
Yeah,
music and not noise. And
yeah,
it's an unusual concept for me to hear people talk about, you know, playing music while they're creating, you know, when I'm sewing, because I sew. I go on jags where I sew. In here
mm,
it means I have to not be recording because I have to literally move stuff out of the way.
yep,
But when I'm sewing, I want no sounds. I want
mm-hmm.
nothing. I just, and it's it's strange to me because it's music is distracting to me, I guess is what I'm
Yeah,
saying. And
yeah,
I love the fact that we all have these completely different approaches and completely different environmental needs for what we
yeah.
do.
Well, the funny thing is with me, when I'm creating, and this is where I get strange, I have to have a program playing, like on my laptop somewhere,
Uh-huh.
have my earbuds on, have it like how I have it now, like one earbud in, one on, one out. Okay. Have whatever music playing, whether it's, cello concerto, piano, or whatever my mood is of the day.
Right.
And have whatever program I'm watching while I'm working on whatever I'm working on. That's where I get weird.
So you've got multiple input going
Yep.
on.
Yep.
Wow. That is so cool. Yeah, I can't multitask. And the older I get, the less I can multitask, which I find a little bit annoying because I used to be able to watch something and learn something while I was
Yeah.
doing other things, and I no longer can do that. I need to focus on one thing at a time that's in front of
Yeah.
me. So I don't know if
Well,
that's an age thing or I don't know what that is. This is probably an
no.
age thing.
Probably, no telling. With me, it's more of a ADHD thing.
Ah,
Uh-huh. Yeah, because if I have it completely quiet, the sound of silence in my head is so deafening that I can't concentrate.
wow.
So I have to have other noise to block that noise out.
I get you. I get you.
Yeah.
So you've been doing a lot of fabric work lately and
Yes, I have.
jewelry.
Yes.
Um, so I have a question.
Okay.
I'm thinking about how to phrase this because it just fell into my head. Um, what happens when you get an idea and you don't have, but you realize you don't have the tools or maybe even the skill set to create the thing? What do you do?
Well, if and this has actually happened. That's why I am like so multi-talented.
Got you.
um, because I started out as just knowing uh, fiber and some jewelry making, not a lot, just basically, oh, I could string beads and that's it. And now it's gone from that to I know minor forging, I know wood burning, I know a little bit of carpentry, I know uh, blah, just left my head. Uh, I know how to work with clay, both air dry clay as well as spinning clay.
Right. Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah. Uh, I also know how to do leather working, not only just, basic, tying up cord to making actual leather armor and
Wow.
bags and all sorts of stuff. And what it boiled down to is a customer was like, hey, I saw this really cool thing. Do you know how to make it? And it's like, well, let me see.
Right.
And I would look up what was required to make it, study how to make it.
Right.
And a lot of it was like back in the days before we had, Google and the internet and everything. So it was like, oh, well, how do I make this? And it was either ask my grandpa, hey, grandpa, how's this done? Or
Oh.
go ask someone else. Or if grandpa didn't know, he knew someone who did. So it would be spend the time, learn it, make it, remake it, and keep doing it till I got good.
Yeah. Yeah.
It,
I feel that. I feel that. I am very often overwhelmed by the things that I can conceive through whatever my muse happens to send through me. And then I realize I am a lousy vehicle for that creation because I don't know how to do it. So I have to go learn how to do it. I have to research and take classes and all of that. And it might be a year or 5 before I can even make the thing happen.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like I used to be in a forge blacksmithing, making, horseshoes and the actual ringed armor and chainmail and stuff like that.
Wow.
And I was doing that up until I was like 15 and everything, just hanging out, doing it all the time, making swords and knives and having fun.
Was that family? Was that whose
That was
forge was that?
family.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm always fascinated. I'm terrified of fire. So I would be a lousy person in a forge, but I am so fascinated by the concept of just beating things until they, I mean, that the
Yeah,
force that has to go into something like that, and that's
yep,
got to be an emotional creative
it is.
outlet.
It is because I mean, growing up, yeah, I didn't have very good childhood, and being able to go to my uncle's house and go to his forge and just beat on things and create things, it helped. That was my therapy. So when I got out of my dad's house at 16 and everything, I kind of got away from it. And now people have seen some of my jewelry pieces where it's like really thick metal and it's wrapped and twisted and everything else. And they're like, hey, do you know how to do Viking torque necklaces and this and that? And I'm like, yeah. And I've been kicking myself in the butt because it's like, I don't have the forge. I don't have the tools.
Right.
How do I do this? So it's
Yeah,
like,
there's no place for a mini forge in that apartment, is there? No place
well,
safe.
they have this thing where they don't like fire
Right.
because they
Right.
don't have the insurance to cover it in case things happen.
Right. I remember living in a condo for a while, and I had a kiln, like a regular kiln that I had stored there because I had nowhere to put it at the time, and I wasn't ready to let it go. And don't
Yep.
ask me why I had a kiln, because I don't work with fire. Uh, but I had this kiln, and the condo association literally found out that we had this kiln in
Oh
our
no.
condo, and they're like, you have to get rid of it. And I said, no, you don't understand, it's never been plugged in, we're storing it. No, you have to get rid of it. I'm going, I will never plug it in because I am terrified of fire. I just have it. um yeah,
Yeah.
it's hard. I mean, we
It
get
is.
limited on because of our where we live or how we live.
Yep.
We are really limited. I know that 2 years ago, I was looking at moving into this space permanently for a while, um, and I realized that I did not have enough room for all of my stuff and me. I could fit all of my stuff in this room, but then there was no place for me to sleep.
Yep.
And I looked around to see what creative thing I was going to sacrifice, and it turned out to be
Mm-hmm.
all my polymer clay stuff, which was a lot. I mean, thousands of dollars worth of tools and power tools and all kinds of things that I had accumulated over the years. And I boxed it all up and sold it. And a lot of folks were like, what are you doing? And I said, you know what? Right now, the music is the most important thing. And if I had all the space in the world, I would keep the PC stuff, but I need to make a choice, and it's got to be a really focused choice for now. And I can always do that in another phase of my life again if I need to. Some
Yep.
days I miss it, but
Mm-hmm.
not so much that I I need to be able to sleep in order to be able to create.
Yes. Yes.
It's a
Choices.
funny, it's a choices, right? Right? Do you feel like you've had to sacrifice things in order to do the things that you do creatively?
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Um, because there are some days where I will get in such a creative mode that I will forget to eat and sleep. Like
Yes.
there's been times where I will sit here and be in such a creative mode that I'll get notifications on my phone from friends, family members. Hey, have you even gone to sleep yet? Have you ate?
Not.
And it's like, oh yeah, that's the thing I was supposed to do. That explains the headache, you know. And it's just there's that, or because like right now I am suffering a little bit with health issues. Like right now I'm currently out of work due to a shoulder injury.
Ugh.
Yeah. And that happened like shortly after your
Right.
visit.
Right. Right.
Um, yeah. And ever since this shoulder injury, it's like I'm out of work. And granted, I have loads of time for my creative, but I don't have the funds to get all the stuff that I need to
Right.
go to all these shows
Right.
that are wanting me there. It's like, you know,
It
it's
always
like,
seems like it's a trade-off, doesn't
it,
it?
it
The
is.
folks
It's like,
yeah,
yeah.
the folks that say, the day job is in the way, but I have to make money.
And then
And
when that
then,
is no longer an issue, it's like, but where's the money? Yeah.
right, right. And I think that a lot of us walk this line of valuing ourselves and our
Yeah.
creativity properly.
Yeah.
And I know, I mean, I just had a coaching session with one of my instructors for the audio mixing that I'm doing,
Mm-hmm.
talking about my next steps on something. And I found myself saying a couple of times during the coaching session, yeah, well, I don't expect that my music will ever take off in a really big way. And he
Yeah.
just sat there and looked at me, and I said, oh, did it again, didn't I? I mean, I'm so
Imposter syndrome. Yeah.
it, imposter syndrome. And I think that some of us have been taught, especially women of a certain generation, and I know that you're much younger than I am, especially in my generation, women were taught not to stand out and be better than.
I was taught that.
And I think that it affects our creative, not so much our creative output, because we might continue to create. But for
Mm-hmm.
instance, my mom was a writer for her entire life, but she never
Mm-hmm.
shared it with anyone but family,
Yeah.
you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.
And while I have shared my whatever it is that I'm doing at the time my entire life, because I swore I was not going to do that thing that my mother did, beautiful
Yeah.
woman, but I was not going to be that. I was not going to hide my talent. At the same
Mm-hmm.
time, I'm always the first one to defer to somebody else on stage. I'm always the first one to say, well, you can just listen to this on Spotify. You don't have to buy my CDs, because
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm constantly doing that. And I think that if you're raised a certain way, it's really hard to get away from that mindset. And our
It is.
creativity can support us. I see it around me every day, and I'm
Yep.
learning how to do it. I mean, I walked away from the day job, right?
Mhm.
Years ago,
Yep.
and said, it literally, said failure is not an option.
Yep.
This is how I want to make a life and a living. But
Yep.
it is still, most people would not want to live uh, in a renovated carport, you know, attached to a house,
Yeah.
and make the sacrifices that I have. And it's completely worth it for me. And I'm completely happy with this.
There you
Um,
go.
but, I, making those, it is still a sacrifice in a
Yep.
lot of ways.
Yep.
And it's interesting hearing other people's stories of how they've had to make room for their creativity.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, with me, it's like all my life being told that I'm not good enough, that no matter what I do, I'll never be good enough. And just recently getting in touch with adopted family that's not seen me in 30 years,
Wow.
and showing them all the things I've created, everything that I'm putting into my business, and saying that, wow, that needs to be in front of like movie producers and executives of movies and out in Hollywood and stuff like that. And I'm like, wait a minute. No, 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 no. Small. And they're like, no, seriously. I'm like, no. So in my mind, it's like they just gave me a platter with $1 billion on it,
Right.
and I felt my worth was only worth $5.
Yeah. Wow. What you just said.
There you go.
Yeah.
So with me, it's like, that's why, like, for instance, I do have an Etsy store. Um, when I opened it last year in June, the only picture I had on there was with me in the silk tie cloak,
Yeah.
and and I had on like a belly dancer skirt and everything. I had on a tabard. I was dressed up in Viking garb basically,
Yeah.
uh, and I just had that picture up there and had it listed and all that, because you have to have one picture as a listing so you can open up the store.
Right.
That's the only picture I already had. A lot of the items that I have created, like I have over 300 pieces of jewelry right now,
Wow.
and I have none of it photographed.
Uh,
So it's like, crap.
the things we do to sabotage ourselves, right?
Exactly. It's like I have all these pieces of jewelry, none of it's photographed, which I'm hoping this weekend to remedy.
Yay.
I've got some rune sets over here and some sigils that I wood burned that I've not taken any pictures of. Okay. Um, I've got this one big sign that I had done for a Yule festival and everything. I have pictures of that, but none of it ever made it onto the Etsy page. So it's like, I have all these things that are done, but none of it's on the Etsy page.
You're just taking that $5. You're not taking the $1 million.
Exactly. So
Oh,
it's
Callie, it
like
is time for you to
to break
shine.
out.
Yes,
Exactly.
get those pictures taken, get them posted, list that jewelry because I've seen your work and it is inspired and it is beautiful and it's well
Yeah.
crafted. And I
Yeah.
know that there's more behind your work than just you sitting down and making something. Um,
Well, it's like I was talking with my mom. Okay. And as I was talking to her, she had told my stepdad about my pocket dragon.
yes.
Okay. And as her and I were talking, I just instant boop, idea came to my head for a pocket dragon for him.
Yes.
And I wrote it all down. It's like, okay, he likes the Willies or the Woody type vehicles from back in the day.
Oh,
So I'm
yeah.
like, yeah. So I'm like, all right. So I'm going to have like this Mushu looking dragon, okay, sitting on top of the roof with a long Gandalf pipe with smoke coming out of it. He's going to be, his ears are going to be drooping. He's going to have a beard. His eyes are going to be like halfway drooping. He's going to be wearing a Fantasia hat, but it's going to be drooping, sort of like those Jamaican hats.
Wow.
Yeah.
I am loving this.
Yeah. And that's the whole idea that came to my head. And I was telling my mom about it, and she's like, that just came to you? I said, yeah. She's like, did you write it down? I said, yeah, working on it.
So make it, create it, and oh, you know what, girl, you deserve to have your art out there. And here's to both of us learning to value
Yeah.
our creations. Just
Yes.
because creativity is something that flows through us naturally,
Yes.
um, doesn't mean just because it's a natural talent doesn't mean that we don't deserve to be compensated for our work. Somebody I know that there's this thought that says if you don't hate your job, that it's not a job.
It's true. It's true.
But the truth is we can make a life and a living using that creative flow and
Yeah.
manifesting beauty in this world. And I got to tell you, right now, this world needs a whole lot of beauty. So
It does.
You need to do your thing. I love it.
I'm trying.
And I love seeing that fairy skirt peeking out from behind you. So do me a favor, please, because I want to share your stuff with people, as well as just your thoughts on the creative process here in this video. I want people to be able to click on stuff. So definitely send me the links to your Etsy shop and the link to
Most
your
definitely.
Facebook page. That's your creative
Most
page.
definitely.
And we're going to get this happening. We're going to make this so people can see you a bit more, and promise me you're going to photograph your work and start posting it.
I will promise you, I will try to do better on photographing things. Um, and as far as creating, I do have, let's see, I have a demonstration coming up in April, an
Oh,
actual vending event in June,
wonderful.
and it starts off from there. So,
Wonderful.
yep.
I'm glad to hear it. Anything else you want to tell people about before we get out of here for the day?
Just that I will be listing events on my Facebook page
Excellent.
as far as what will be happening this year, uh, places I'll be going. And I'm more active on my Facebook page than Etsy.
Okay.
But yeah.
Excellent. Well, this was such a pleasure to see your face. I've missed you. I've missed
You
our
too.
chats,
Yes.
and this is the next best thing for right now.
Yes,
And
it
I
is.
promise, when I'm traveling again, I will swing by and see you and poke around in all the corners of your wonderful creative space there.
Oh, yes. And you're always welcome here.
Thanks. All right. Good
All right.
night, good day, whatever it is time of day when folks are watching this. Thank you so much.